Hey everyone, this is Bill Krieger from the Veterans Archives podcast, where we preserve and share the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Really, anywhere you choose to get your podcast, you should be able to find us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media to help us reach more veterans and supporters. We are a nonprofit, and this service is completely free for veterans. Every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard. Spread the word, honor our heroes, and join us on this mission. Follow, share, and tune in, because their story should never be forgotten. Learn more at veteransarchives.org. We'll see you there. Today is Thursday, March 27th, 2025. We're talking with Chris Belan, who served in the United States Army and the United States Army Reserve. So good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good to see your smiling face today.
I had coffee.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. Otherwise, it might be kind of quiet on your end. So today we'll start out with some of the basics. When and where were you born?
Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, hopefully you can remember.
Yeah, I'm right on the cusp of from being a boomer to a Gen X. So I was born June 15th, 1964, in the great city of Detroit at St. John's Hospital on the east side.
Okay. And did you live in Detroit, or was that just where you were?
For a short time when I was young. Actually, lived right over by City Airport. We were right at Gratiot and Connor, off a street called St. Patrick. And from there, I think my folks first moved when bad time in Detroit, when the riots were happening. They decided to move north like everyone else did, to the suburbs. And we landed in, at the time, which was Sterling Township, which is now Sterling Heights.
Okay.
And that's where I mainly grew up for most, for all intents and purposes. And it was unique, and it was a great time because as a very young kid, in the 60s, watching the 70s unfold, and then graduating high school at the beginning of 1982. So,
yeah,
I think I had a normal childhood.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. Drank from the hose, rode your bike around, all that fun stuff.
Oh, we played in the dirt.
Yeah.
Disappeared for hours on end. That's when parents used to call you home for dinner. You could hear them yell,
Yeah.
way over. It was kind of neat because when we first moved to Sterling, it was still partially rural, and it was just the start of the sprawl of the subs.
Mm-hmm.
And, we watched that unfold and develop and change. But so I had the taste of urban, suburban. So
Yeah.
I had a little bit of everything.
Okay. Any brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, my brother
Okay.
Richard, 2 years younger than me.
Okay. So there's a baby in your family.
Yeah. I was the oldest. I got away with murder. He never got away with anything, but I was the one that was always disciplined.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what can you tell me? Can you tell me a little bit about your parents? What they were like?
Sure. Both my parents come from immigrant parents. Both sets of grandparents came from Europe, from Poland and Ukraine. And we had a very strong ethnic upbringing, part of the old world as well as, the US, but it was very pro-US. So, there was pride of your heritage, but first and foremost, you were red-blooded, red, white, and blue. And Actually, when I moved to Sterling, it was really unique because there was an abundance of Poles and Italians, and for the most part, it was such a tight mix because the family values and everybody was in church on Sunday, and 99.9% of them were Catholics. So we had great cohesion.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Sounds like a great place to grow up.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't miss it for the world because as generations go, you lose your heritage, just by, I guess, just by time,
Mhm.
and I try to give my kids, hey, where your family came from is important, and the ties to that community are still very important, so it was a balance. It was a really good balance. I grew up in a bilingual house, so I don't speak Polish as much as I have in a very long time, but um, my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, everybody, anytime we went to my grandparents, it was either, usually it was in Polish and everything else, or when they didn't want us to hear, or we didn't understand, so they would switch back and forth. So it's like New Yorkers in Italy, or the Italians rather, they speak, Italian all the time, or just anybody else. Um, it was a great homogenation, and I think that adds a lot to your moral compass and character.
Yeah. I mean, having an immigrant family changes your perspective on probably on a lot of things. And I mean, you could probably pick up Polish if you needed to, if you ever happen to be in.
Oh, I can understand it from time to time. I do.
Yeah.
I can throw out sentences here and there, and especially when somebody's being derogatory to me, and then I'll just say something. They'll just look at you and blink, and
Mhm.
not realizing that I just gave them a whole string of epithets.
You remembered all the words you needed to remember.
Oh, I can remember the bad words. No
Yeah.
problem. I could
Well,
say, well, I could be nice to you. I could go, "Jak pan jest, just like," which means, "How you doing, sir?"
oh, well, okay.
I know. So,
Oh,
but it's depending how you look at pride. I have pride in the correct way, in the proper way, not in the wrong way.
mhm.
So, but it is my heritage, and it's very strong, and
Yeah. Well, I think it's a certain amount of pride you should have in your heritage. My wife comes from a Greek family, and there's a lot of pride in being Greek, but they're
oh
also
yeah, I had some
very,
Greek
very
friends,
American. So yeah,
and yeah, same.
sounds very
I
similar.
wanted to say Sterling Heights, Warren. Um, this is before Troy developed. Um, very ethnic,
Yeah.
in pockets and stuff, and people held to their comfort zones, and I think there was more cultural immersion back then than there is now.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does completely. So it sounds like a great childhood. School went well for you.
I had a regular childhood. Matter of fact, well, and I got incorrigible a little bit.
Mhm.
I went through Utica schools up through my first year in high school, and I was in a rebellious stage a little bit, and my parents were having none of that, so they figured, "You're going to Catholic high school,"
Nice.
thinking they're going to straighten me out.
They'll
The
fix you.
nuns and the priests are going to do that. So I got pulled out of Stevenson High School and went to Bishop Foley Catholic in Madison Heights from 10th through 12th grade. And that in hindsight, helped me so great because I learned how to adapt to change really quick and just a different environment. And it also gave me two sets of friends because I still had my tight knit group from where I was living. And then I had my group at school, and it through high school, they melted together and we still have friends together. I have two groups of friends that became one group of friends and lifelong friendships.
So you were a one-man melting pot. It
Well,
sounds like.
I think I don't want to say I was like a social butterfly, but I was very overt.
Yeah.
I was a very personable person, but I still had that little, you know, I could take care of my own roughness on the side that everyone would try to say, settle down.
Right.
And, but going to Bishop Foley straightened me out like my parents intended.
Right.
And it really changed probably my course of my life.
Okay. Well, sometimes parents are right.
Well, I had old school parents, so
Yeah. Yeah.
and I see a lot of problems, and I have seen it and I know you have too. It's just that the latest generations have um, a lack of accountability and responsibility and ethical choices and such. We knew better because we were taught that, and we lived by that. So I instill that in my kids. My kids, even though my youngest is 20, she's at Grand Valley, and my son is going to be 24. I see it in them. I see the responsibility and accountability, and it pays dividends. It really does. It makes them better people.
Yeah. It's interesting because I talk to people from all different, backgrounds and all different generations. And in my experience, like every generation thinks that generation after them, is a problem.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're turning into the old guy that yells at people for being on his lawn, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But I think that, to your point, like the back end of the latest generation, that group that's coming up now that are your kids' age, are really kind of turning things around when it comes to that. I think overall for that generation, it's turning back around. I think it's because parents have gotten more involved in the right ways with their kids.
Yeah. I think, pardon my French, but as you know, and anyone over 45 knows that, generationally, there was that void of no parenting.
Right.
They wanted to be friends. They didn't want a parent. And that set people up for failure for a long time. And I think people have seen the damage, and I think they want to go back to when things were right. I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. I see a slight change. It's the start of it. I'm hoping that it'll snowball and we can get back to you know, a good generation again,
Yeah, it's walking that line between being your best friend and beating you with a belt. I think there's somewhere in between that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Proper discipline never hurt nobody.
So it sounds like high school worked out for you, even though you had to move schools and you kept your friends. Did you, after graduation, did you end up joining the military like right away?
No, actually it was because what was going on in the early 80s. I my family was predominantly the automotive industry. You know,
Hmm.
if you didn't work for Chrysler, you worked for Ford, you worked for GM. And we were still at the tail end of, you know, hot rods and cars were such an important part of your teenage years and stuff, not like kids today, you know. And I was lucky. I came from pretty much a blue collar family, and where you repaired your own stuff and did everything. But my dad and my uncles instilled such a love for cars, you know, classic cars, old cars, you know, and stuff like that. And I loved working on them. I wanted to go in the automotive industry. I didn't want to work on a line or anything like that. I wanted to get more into a skill trade. At first I thought, I go, hey, I want to be an auto mechanic. And because I was pulling engines and transmissions and tearing cars apart probably from 15 on. And I was initially self-taught, and what my family taught me, and I had a natural knack for it and a love for it. I love things mechanical. Um, I do a lot of spatial thinking, so to speak. You know, it came naturally, you know, and it was fun. And then it snowballed into everyone bringing their cars to me. I was doing all the majority of work and stuff. And my dad goes, at the time I was graduating in 82, and Chrysler fell through the basement. My dad didn't know if he was going to have work anymore. He was with them for forever, and things were financially dire. And he goes, I can't afford to send you to college. And I'm going, well, maybe I'll go to trade school. And he goes, I can get you into Chrysler Corporation's mechanics training program, but he says, I can only help a little. He says, you're going to have to student loan the rest. And that's what I did. I went to what was called Motec. They were in Livonia at the time. So I had to travel from Sterling Heights to Livonia every day and work on top of that. I was working in a dealership. I worked for Crest Lincoln Mercury in Sterling Heights, which was owned by Bob Ritchie, whose son is Kid Rock. I knew Kid Rock and his brother when they were teenagers, because his dad made him come in and clean and do stuff. He, even though they were well off, he taught them the value of work. Mm-hmm. And Kid Rock, I knew him as a snotty little 13, 14-year-old. And here I am. I'm a young 18, 19-year-old, not far off, but, it was, I thought I was living pretty good. I was in a real job. I was going to the trade school, getting valuable training. And like I said, the automotive industry, once it started falling a little bit, it started trickling out a little bit. I was lucky. When I was finishing up trade school, when I was finishing up Motec, I was approached by their placement counselor saying, hey, I got a job you might be interested in. I go, I got a decent job. He says, this is when AMC was still before Chrysler, just before they bought them. Yeah. He says, no, this is a very good job. I go, okay, what do you got for me? He says, how'd you like to work in engineering as an experimental mechanic for the engineering headquarters for AMC, which was the old Calvinator building over in right on the edge of Detroit. And I go, yeah, I didn't care about the money. I wanted the experience and the something to put on the resume. Yeah. Now I figured this was a closer tie to go to, because I wanted to work for Chrysler. And so I ended up getting the job. And I don't even think I was there 6 months. I was having the time of my life. They were just coming out with the Cherokee at the time. Well, the Cherokee was out, but they were just transitioning to the straight six, the 4-liter. And at the time, they had a General Motors 2.8-liter V6 in there that was kind of anemic, but they were able to squeeze that in there. And I was part of that platform that was working on it. I was having a great time. And that's when Chrysler bought AMC, and they kind of dismantled the company, where they got rid of everything and all their engineering, and they kept, they kept Jeep. And so
what some people might not know is that AMC used to make Jeeps. It was AMC
yes.
Jeep, right? Or Jeep
yeah,
AMC.
They were they absorbed Willys whenever they did back in the late 40s, early 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the origination of Jeep.
And Chrysler wanted them for the Jeep products, not for the AMC products.
Because it was a cash cow.
Yeah.
And they really improved, as you can see. That thing took off like a rocket.
Well, that 4-liter straight six was a workhorse.
Yeah,
that thing was crazy. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So anyways, I kind of lost out on, on that. That kind of fell through. And I just went on unemployment, and I get a call back from not AMC, but Chrysler AMC. No, I'm sorry. I think, because I'm sorry. I'm just thinking back.
You're fine.
So long ago. Renault had AMC. They were, that's where it was falling apart, and that's when Chrysler grabbed it. So it was Renault AMC at the time. So so I get a call back from them. They said, "Hey, we have Chrysler's keeping this open. Want to know if you want to, do component tear down, for what was called Component Reliability Engineering Group." It was on Farmington in Livonia. So I go, yeah, I want to work. I don't want to be on unemployment. So I stayed there until Chrysler decided, I don't even think it was a year, they dismantled that, and I was back on the street again. And I didn't want to go back to the dealership. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want, typical 20-something-year-old, right?
Right.
You're real picky about life and everything. And things were kind of stabilizing with Chrysler. And my dad goes, "Hey, I got a contact." This is when Chrysler was, before they built Auburn Hills Tech Center. Mm-hmm. They still had the Highland Park Engineering and headquarters. They said, "I can get you in there as a contracted employee." I go, "Yes, yeah, anything to make way, get a door open to shove a foot in." And I worked as everyone still uses contracted engineering and stuff like that, and technicians and stuff. GM's still very prominent on that. And I came in as let's see, it was I was in an engineering program planning, and we had to go to all the different various plants in the Detroit metro area and some of the outlying areas, and we did weights and measures of production components, so they could get weights for EPA certification. So, but it was a job. So I worked out of Highland Park with a team, and we would go to the various different assemblies, like at the time, Jefferson Assembly, Warren Truck. We went to Kokomo, Indiana when they still had the transmission plant. I went to St. Louis 1 and 2 assemblies. So I was traveling, living it up, having a good time. And my contract came up and they cut that department and all the technicians. And they laid off 25 of us. And it was a permanent layoff. It wasn't a callback.
Right.
And they gave a final pay. And I was kind of soul searching at that time. I was always never without a job or never sitting on my butt. I was always forward moving. And it seemed like at that time, the handwriting on the wall for the automotive industry was downsizing, all this other, and the lack of opportunity was greater and greater and greater. And I always had a like of the military. I'm actually third generation. When my grandfather came from the Ukraine, when he came over here, that's how he got his citizenship. He enlisted in the United States Army. He served in World War One, and but I'm the tail end of the family. That's why there's space between the timing.
Yeah.
And my dad's oldest brothers, two of them served in World War II. My oldest uncle served in Patton's Third Army. He was in Battle of the Bulge. He's seen most of France and Belgium and that predominant area. And my dad was 10 years younger than him. So then Korea kicked off, and I think the beginning of 53, and he served 53 and 54 in Korea. The long line of serving your country started, and then I had a couple cousins that were in Vietnam. My one cousin was in 4th Infantry. He was up in the Highlands, and he was also in Cambodia and Laos. So he got to see some crazy things, and he came back all in one piece. And one thing I noticed with all of them, as much as they bitched about the military, they loved it, and there was pride and stuff. And my dad was a VFW member, so were my uncles and stuff. And just being exposed to them and their love and hate. And a couple of my friends went in. I go, you know what? I might do I'm gonna do this. Mm-hmm. And I was toying between the Marine Corps and the Army, and my dad goes, look, if you're going to do this, you're going to carry on the family tradition. All right, we're an Army family.
Oh, okay.
And I go, okay. And I was leaning towards it more or less. And okay. So in 87, I enlisted under the delayed entry program. I kind of wanted to be a soldier. I didn't want to be a mechanic. I didn't want to be a support person. I wanted to do basics. So I enlisted. Right? So I enlisted as an 11 Bravo as an infantryman with the airborne option, because I had this glory picture of being airborne. So not not knowing of everything that's included with that. But
It's a lot of work, Chris, getting through
so
that.
I think I was 22. I think I was 22 when I enlisted. I'm trying to remember. Um, so I enlisted as an airborne infantryman, and I went to Fort Benning for basic and infantry school, and we were one of the last cycles. Fort Benning, their training areas were divided up in two areas. One was called Sand Hill, the other one was called Harmony Church. Sand Hill was the new, they called them the starships, the new modern barracks and everything else, and air conditioning, all that kind of crazy stuff. And I get to the processing station at Benning, and we thought that Harmony Church was shut down. And then we find out, no, we were one of the last two cycles that was going to Harmony Church. So I went to the real World War II barracks, the real training area, and we were so far from the flagpole. We also had the heart. Everyone says, "Yeah, I had the hardest drill sergeants."
Right.
But they had more autonomy to get away with things and be the right way. I remember my senior drill he was an old crusty E7 that served in the 173rd. He jumped into Vietnam, and he was the gunny highway of the Army, so to speak. He was just as rough as you could get, and my company paid for that.
Yeah.
Going through it, but we learned right and we learned well. So my day, because we at the time it was called one station unit training. So you went through basic and your MOS training all in one shot in the same location.
So MOS training was just an extension of boot camp,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
I remember the day that we switched. It was like we were training 7 days. I remember on Sunday we were training, and my drill sergeant tells us, he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, you guys graduated basic today." We're like, "What? We're dirty, we're in gear, and we're out goofing around." They go, "Yeah, today's the first start of infantry school." And I'm like, talk about like, okay, what happened there? And then it was like a few hours later, they started cranking down on us like it was day one. They were just trying to keep us in line and everything. Because the word got out, they thought we were going to slack off. So they so they put the screws to us for about 3-4 days, and then backed it off a little bit. And then we went through the rest of our infantry training. And actually, the day it was really funny. The day I graduated, my parents came down and some friends and stuff. I went right from graduation over to airborne. They took us right over to airborne school in process. I go, my parents are here. I didn't, they dragged us out in transport and took us over there. And I told my dad, I said, they're taking us over to the airborne school. I'll figure a way to get a hold of you, or you guys come out there or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But they did that on purpose. The drills did. Actually, we didn't have to report because it was, for my group, it was called a 0 week, where you're just in transition and you would start on the following week. But they dropped us off to be, put on the manual labor market for whatever. And I think there was about 15, 20 of us that got dumped off. And all these parents and people that came across country to see their kids got mad. Like, why'd you drag our kids off? And my dad he says, hold on, I know something about the Army. we're going to the base chaplain's office. We're gonna light a fire this way, right?
Yeah.
And so all these people, there's about, I mean, a ton of people went to the chaplain's office, and they went in there and they got overwhelmed. Like, all these people are like ready to tear the building apart. And it happened that the base commander's wife was there seeing the chaplain, the chaplain group, and she sticks her nose out. What's going on, right? She goes, "I'll take care of this." She calls her husband,
Oh
and it
no.
and it just went. We're I remember I was in the company area, and we were out doing a police call, and one of the black hats, the airborne instructors, come running. He says, and he had a clipboard. He goes, "Hey, all you guys that came from Charlie Company, third or the 38th over from Harmony Church, fall in." He says, he says, "You guys immediately got a 3-day pass." Uh, and they were all nervous, and we're like, "What did we do? And where's the retribution going to come?" But long story short, we got out of there quick. They took us to the chaplain's office, and we got released to our families for for 3 days. So, and that was the beginning of that. So we
Oh, was
didn't.
there?
It's not like we missed training or anything,
Yeah.
because school didn't officially start up, like I said, to the following week. So we had a few days of. Sorry for that. I got 10 o'clock call, but I'm not going to do that.
All right. So a question on that though, was there a price to be paid for that 3-day pass, or did it just?
No.
Wow, that's crazy.
We were told, well, I guess when the base commander's wife hears about some of the things that were pulled, she was mad. And
Yeah.
of course, I'm sure she was a bug in the CG's ear, and that came from them. So I think everyone was afraid to step forward or do anything or have any type of retaliation, because it
Oh,
would
very
come right
nice.
back to it. They didn't know. They didn't. All they know is that it came down quick like a bolt of lightning, and they were just you know
Yeah, they were scrambling.
yeah, they were scrambling.
Yeah.
And
So
the airborne school didn't care, because they were unaware of it. That was pulled by the training battalion. So
how was
I'm
airborne
sure
school
something was
compared?
said, and I'm sure people got called on the carpet about it. But um, that was my first introduction to how things come down.
Yeah.
I experienced it firsthand, and it was like it blew my mind. Went to airborne school. Um, Graduating from airborne school, I got orders for 82nd replacement. So I got assigned to the 82nd Airborne, and that's where my career really started. After being in replacement, I got assigned to 2nd Battalion, 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, which has a very historical background. Most of the airborne started at the beginning, in World War II, and they started along with the 101st. And if I remember my divisional history, their first action was started off in Sicily, the invasion of Sicily, and they went from there to England and trained up just like the 101st did for a period of time. Jumped in on D-Day. From D-Day, they were, they moved. The next big thing was Holland, Operation Market Garden, which was a joint large-scale airborne invasion where they were trying to get the Germans out of Holland and taking key bridges and stuff. That was with the British First Airborne Division. It was a joint British-U.S. and the Poles that they were with the British, and that kind of gave them a kick in the butt. And they also helped break the encirclement at the Bulge for when the 101st was encircled, and they had heavy combat at Battle of the Bulge like everybody did, and they finished the war from that. I'm trying to remember what was the next event. I don't think anything with the 82nd. Nothing happened for the 82nd until Dominican Republic in the mid 60s when they had that coup, and from there they went to Vietnam. And after Vietnam, nobody did anything, and they were the first ones in Urgent Fury. You remember Grenada?
Oh yes, I remember that.
That was their first action in 10 plus years, because Vietnam winded down and everything else, and the army downsized and everything else. And when I came in, when I was assigned to the 505th, I was lucky. I was assigned to which is now they changed the designation to a Pathfinder detachment. It was a long range surveillance unit. I got a little taste of, and next thing you know, we're going to Panama. I was in Panama in December of '89 when we went to go get Noriega. I was only in Army a short time, and here I am, expecting a peacetime Army. And but that was very short-lived. We were only there 30 days, but it got me a coveted Expeditionary Force medal. From there, I got an opportunity to try out for Special Forces. They had what was called Special Forces Assessment and Selection. I think I should have been a little bit more prepared, but I again, just like when I joined the Army initially, I had goals and stuff like that, and I go, hey, if I got a chance to do this will be great. Not realizing the full impact of the length of training and everything that you have to give, and I trial by fire, basically. So I went through selection, which nearly killed me. My class started, tell you the attrition rate for selection. My class started with 250 people, and 70 of us graduated.
That's quite a failure rate.
Yeah. Well, it's designed. It's the whole premise of it is to weed out and get what they're looking for. That's their weeding out process. Before they had selection, before they implemented, they used to weed you out in the first phase of Special Forces, and they said, no, this is counterproductive. We need to teach and train, not play, weeding out process. We want people ready to go to start, not have two processes going at the same time. But selection's 21 days of hell. When you have regimental rangers and some hardcore people quit. It's divided up in two phases. there's a team phase and there's an individual phase, and a lot of land navigation and a lot of brutal tasks and stuff. It's a gut check. It's a total gut check, and it is really a big psychological check. And I mean, from sleep deprivation to, you're absolutely 100% observed from the time you start to they decide to. You could complete the entire 21 days and pass through it all. And they have what's a final board, which they decide, and still not pass. There's people that have gone through it and not get selected. So through the whole time that you're there, it's really unique because there's no encouragement, there's no positive reinforcement. Actually, when you get there, you're stripped of all rank. All you have is Uncle Sam in your name, and you have white engineer tape with a roster number, and it was sewn to your pockets on your pants on the sides, and you were referred to either as trooper or as roster number so and so. So they level the playing field right from the start, and this is where they can really, look at, your performance and your ability to, do things by yourself or do things in a team setting. The scrutiny is really, really incredible, but they give the they weren't instructors, but the facilitators, they were the most stone-faced, non-emotional people. They had to be, they couldn't give encouragement. They couldn't tell you how you were doing, whether it was good or bad. You just had to keep going. And by the grace of God, I gave it everything I got. And this is what taught this is actually, that's where it instilled me never to quit, no matter how bad things were going. And I kept saying to myself, I'm never going to quit. They have to throw me out. All right. Because I'm going to give everything I got until I'm told to stop, and that's what they want. You have to go past your limitations. You got, you can't have comfort zones, and you got to be able to continue on. And that instilled in short order perseverance to no end. Some people have it, some people do not. Not everyone has it. I don't think it can be learned. I think it only comes from within, and that's where it helped me find it. It helped me find it. I had it. I never realized I had it. And I've used that throughout up until this day. Pushing through things, and as we go further, you will see where it carried me through, where there's nothing else that could carry me through. Mm-hmm. And I look at it as a core blessing. It's something. I guess it's a survival mechanism, and it teaches you not to give up, or at least exposes you to it. And it made me who I am today, of having very strong attributes, well, again,
so do you, Chris, do you think that so that selection or instances like that, I think that really reveals people's character. It doesn't build their character. Like when you go through something like that, it really reveals who you are.
Yeah, you just said it in a nutshell. Well, I sat there and blabbed it out. I think so. I think it brings out true character, mm-hmm. and who you are. All right. Whereas it doesn't give you an opportunity to embellish or fake it or be lazy or anything that's counterproductive.
Yeah, there's no faking your way through
No,
that selection process.
it's stripping you naked
Yeah.
and showing you for what you are.
And that's just selection,
the true
right?
sense. What's that?
Yeah. I say that's just selection, though. That's not even
that's just selection.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I'm not even. I don't even know if I would go through the opportunity, right? And again, when I completed it, nobody knew. When we came back, well, actually, the last thing that we knew we're going, like, we don't know where we're at in training, because all they would do is they would post 3 times a day a schedule on a board in a common area, or not a common area, but in the parade ground area, and you had to go look at it, and they gave you there was no direction other than what was posted, where, what time, where to be, and there was very minimal notification or whatever. So it was you had to be on top of it. You couldn't rely on cadre coming and directing you to do this or do that. This was a total check from the time you walked in, and to see what you were made of, test your mettle. And I had responsibility, but it just amplified it that much more. I was an E4 when I went to selection. I was a corporal, so I was just I had enough responsibility, but not a lot, and that just pushed me. It just propelled me forward that much even more, and for by the grace of God, I was doing all the right things. Everyone makes minor mistakes here and there, but the thing is it made me think about what I was doing next, or what to anticipate or whatever. Just always trying to be on guard, and that, with a lack of sleep, really, it really does a lot. Yeah, we were only going on like a couple 3-hour sleep a day. We would be woken up in the middle of the night to do stuff, and there's only so much I can give away for the selection, but it's
Right.
it's a guy. Even the Rangers said, they were having nightmares of Ranger school, and this was just that in a quieter way, but with a bigger psychological impact.
Yeah.
And and it was all by design. It was all a logical reason for what they were doing. And after going through everything and all the hell and everything, our last we heard it through the grapevine, other people gone through. Our last event was we were going to have I wouldn't call it a road march. It was more of a road run.
Yeah.
And it was from Camp McCall into the outskirts of Fort Bragg, which was 38 miles, I think. It was a long way. They woke us up like at 1:30 in the morning, told us pack all our stuff up, threw us on trucks, drove us out to at the time I think it was Chicken Road, which was the sandiest, most hilliest continuous road. It was just horrible to walk on. And I think the ruck weight had to be a minimum without food and water was 65 pounds plus your weapon. And by the time you had everything, you not too bad, 80 some pounds. And we were all dropped off and given chem lights. We were putting them on our person and on our rucks, and we were told, go that direction until you're told to stop. and not, well, no time hacks, no nothing, just get there.
Yeah.
So you start hoofing it, and you're going. The next thing you know, it's it's early morning. You're gone, and sun's come up, and you're just going, and you're like, when's this going to end? And this is going on for hours on hours, and you're at wit's end. You're tired. You're wore out. You're blistered up. You're scraped up. You're just a mess. And you're probably 20 pounds of muscle that you've lost over the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, when I came in, all there was a water buffalo. For those that don't know, it's a small trailer with potable water, and they had a checkpoint. And as soon as you came in, you checked in, and they said, "Okay, have a seat, wait for the next truck." And that's all they said.
Wow. Okay.
So, after 30 some miles going all night, and you're like, so they took us back to our barracks where we're staying. We get there, they say, get cleaned up, get chow. We'll have accountability at 1600. This was like at, I think, 11 a.m. in the morning. And nobody wanted chow. Everyone's getting in there. All they want to do is shower and rack out. And that's what I kind of did. So it was like I closed my eyes, and my watch goes off, my alarm goes off, at about 20 minutes to formation. And I wake up, I go, I just fell asleep. I just felt like I closed my eyes for a second. I was just out. Everyone was absolutely cold. And then I'm getting out of my bunk, and I can barely move. I'm just so tightened up, sore, and my feet were like everybody else is wearing hamburgers. And when the instructors comes in, going, said, anyone that wants to, soft shoes, because they knew everyone was tore up.
Yeah.
And formation's going to be right in front of the barracks, right on the street. Okay, so they do a head count, and they go, we'll have another accountability after chow and for further direction. And we're like, oh, we don't have to do anything. You're waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Right.
Nothing. We're like, so everyone's staying in the barracks. They're not going anywhere. They're not screwing around. And just so we eat chow. We have the last final formation, and they said the board's convening, and they may have questions for you. You'll be called. Stay in the area from now until whatever time it was. And we're all just like, okay, dead silence. No one's talking. Everyone's just absolutely wiped out. And so they had another formation, and some people did come and go if they had questions or not. And then it was just like one or two questions, and it didn't give them any insight of what was going on. It was just like, they were so ambiguous, some of the questions. So, we get released for the night and to the morning formation, and nobody has a clue what's going on. We're like, are we selected? Are we not selected? What's going on, right? So first formation, we got released for chow, and they said, like, I think that was like a 30-minute time period. They said I think it was at 08:30, be up at this classroom in the auditorium at this time. So we all file in there, all of us, and we're all hobbling in, people on crutches and stuff, because they got medical attention and stuff. Beat up. We look like POWs. Bad. And all the cadre and the school commander were in there, and they're just stone-faced, absolutely like they were, prison guards. And once everyone was in there, they closed the doors and they posted two people outside and two people inside, support personnel. And the commander is just up there, he was former Delta, so we kind of knew who he was, but he just had that stoic, no facial expression whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he says, if your roster number is called off, go to the back by the doors, take further direction from the cadre. He starts reading off the roster. It went in order at first, then all of a sudden he starts jumping numbers around. And we're going, what the hell's going on? And when he's reading it off, I had such tunnel vision. I was so focused in on him, waiting for my number to get called. And I could feel the sweat start rolling down. And I swear to God, I could hear everyone breathing. Everyone was just so, the focus and fear at the same time were there, because you completed all this. Now all of a sudden it's like, ta-da. But are the people being called the ones being selected and the ones staying behind? You don't know.
Right.
You know? And he's jumping through the list, and it seems like it's going forever. It's like time stopped. And all of a sudden he calls the last number, and he just looks at the paper, and he just looks up once, and he looks back down, sets the paper down, just as stone-faced as you could possibly be. And then you hear the doors close and other people leave. And he looks around and he pauses for like about 20 seconds. I'm going, you MFer,
Right.
You are just doing the Jedi mind trick, right? And with no emotion, he goes, gentlemen, you've been selected. And we just, euphoria, everyone jumps up, and hugging, and you're just like, it was the worst anxiety you could possibly have. And then at that point, and you just look around, and all processing will be at start of business tomorrow. You guys have the afternoon off. There's no formations. You're on your own. And it was like, I didn't know what to do. Pardon my language. I didn't know whether to shit or go blind,
Yeah.
And we were a wretched mess going through that. And now life seemed good. Now there was, the sun was shining, all this other stuff. And I got orders for the next Q course. I actually went back to 82nd, and first thing was my first sergeant was waiting for me, coming to my hooch. All right. So my first sergeant and my platoon sergeant were in there, and they got their arms crossed, very no military bearing. And they're glaring at me. They go, we're going to hate you whether you give a yes or no answer. I go, what? Did you pass? And you better fucking pass. Or if you didn't pass, I got shit for you to do.
Right.
You know, yeah, you're a disgrace. You know, it's like damned if it was a catch-22.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, what I just went through, you guys can't even get close. Right. I go, and I'm like looking at them and I'm smirking. They go, what the hell are you smirking at, Corporal? And they put me at parade rest. Right. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, going back to the old 82nd. All right. Well, I go, I got orders for the Q course. And then they go, come over, shake my hand, saying, job well done. They go, you know, you're very much in the minority because every 20 people that go there, 18 come back.
Yeah.
So good job.
It's a huge accomplishment. I mean, there's no other way to say it's a huge accomplishment.
So, but yeah, they just wanted the, you know, the typical, you know,
they got to mess with
NCO play game, you know, type stuff.
Yeah.
And they were, oh yeah, now they had bragging rights, you know, for the other companies and stuff like that. And, you know, the other senior NCOs are like, ew, like flipping off. I go, I got a winner, you got losers, you know, all the silly stuff, you know,
all the sibling rivalry and all the, I got it. Yeah.
And it was funny because we had when I came back after that, we had an airborne, we had a proficiency jump scheduled for the next day, and they go, no, you're not jumping. Why? I want to jump. They go, no, you're going to be ground support. You're going to be the DZSO's support. You're going to be on a DZ. And I'm going, why? They go, you ain't screwing up before you leave. You're not, you know. Right. So they're trying, you know, they're trying to make sure that, you know, for the next 30 days I don't hurt myself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They go, do you want to take terminal leave? Do you want to do something? You know, matter of fact, my company commander gave me a 4-day pass. He says, go disappear, just stay out of here. I don't want you doing anything.
Yeah, so they just want to make sure that you're going where you're supposed to go when you're supposed to go there, right?
Oh yeah. Because I was representing them, and they didn't want to send a bag of garbage over there, you know.
Right.
And I remember starting the Q course. At the time, it was 3 phases. They keep changing it and keep adding stuff here and there. I got, when I reported in, we had a choice of your MOSs, you know, the wish list, just like everything else. You know, they fill out what you want, and we'll let you know because needs of the service come first. So we'll put you where we want to put you.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I wanted to be a weapons sergeant because I loved weapon system stuff. And then I put commo sergeant for my second and demo for my third. I didn't want medic because that is a brutal course, even for SF standards. Mm-hmm. But that afternoon I get, I'm assigned to the weapons branch, you know, after phase 1. And I go, yes, I got what I wanted. I couldn't believe it. First shot.
Nobody gets basically what they want.
There was only a few people. They were short commo sergeants, and they pulled people, you know, what they had the most of. Yeah. And everyone really more or less got what they wanted. But training was long, very long. And also part of training through SF, you also go through survival through SEER. Mm-hmm. And you also go through your next professional development course. You have to at least have BNOC or ANOC which was for the enlisted. Officers had a different path, and
Right.
because they had the officer portion of the course. Officers enlisted were together for phase 1 and phase 3. Phase 1 is all your small unit tactics, all your direct action, all the bread and butter type things. And phase 2 is your MOS specific. And phase 3 is what's called Robin Sage. It's a huge unconventional warfare maneuver. Where they do it in North Carolina. They have a ton of civilians that act out and stuff. It's a fictional country called Pineland. You're airborne infiltrated. You hook up with guerrillas and so forth. You're basically doing the core value of special forces, which is unconventional warfare.
Right.
And you like it's a real problem. And so I can kind of close this up a little bit. We don't have to go into details about all that stuff. I get through everything, I pass everything, and I graduate. And I was like, okay. At our regimental dinner when we got our berets, the night before graduation, they all the command and sergeant majors from the various groups come in, to be part of the regimental dinner and welcome to the regiment type thing. And our guest speaker at the time was Colonel Aaron Banks, famous for the OSS. And he was incredible on that aspect. And here's a historical figure you read about, and you get to meet him.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, he was really the father of special forces at the time. It's like, okay, you're actually here. Okay, you're part of the brotherhood now, right?
Yeah.
And that's where he also they handed out, where do you want to go? Which, where do you want to be assigned, right? Whether you want 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th. And I really wanted 10th group. At the time, 10th group wasn't at Fort Carson. They were still at Fort Evans. But they had they were also in Bad Tolls in Germany. And I wanted Bad Tolls. I wanted to go to Germany so bad. I go, this is it, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want 10th group, right? And I met the command sergeant major for 10th group, and he goes, because I went up to him and asked him, because I was asking him about 10th group. He says, because we got to go through language school. And he says, most of the languages are very difficult and all this. He's downplaying it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I go, well, and he's looking, he's glaring at my name. He goes, Belan. And I go, it's Slavic. And he goes, I go, that's the Russian spelling. I said, my grandfather came from Ukraine. The rest of my family came from Poland. I go, I'm 2nd generation. And he goes, can you speak anything? And I said, I can speak Polish. And I started conversing with him a little bit. He spoke Polish, he spoke German, and he spoke French. So I think he was kind of surprised because I was pronouncing more correctly some words than he was.
Right. Well, you grew up with it though, right?
Well, yeah. He goes, where'd you learn that? I go, Hamtramck. Michigan.
Yeah.
And I said, no, and he goes, and he goes, write down your name and all your info, and we'll see what you can do. I was hoping that I was greasing the right skids, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, later in the afternoon, or they cut orders for everybody, where they were going. I get seventh group. I get Central Latin America, South America.
Yeah.
I go,
Because your Spanish
I
is
go,
so good, right?
oh, yeah, I'm going, you got to be joking. And it was, and I go, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at Fort Bragg because seventh group was still at Fort Bragg. And I'm going like, no, I want to go to 10th group. All my buddies that wanted to go east, first group, got what they wanted because they wanted Fort Lewis, and everyone and a bunch of people wanted fifth group. This is before Desert Storm kicked off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I felt kind of defeated. I go, well, at least I'm a weapons sergeant.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and so report to seventh group, everything's going fine. I went right. I wouldn't call it language school, but it's more of a language program. The civilians taught it. It was right at Bragg, and I did that. I had to take Spanish. So how difficult is that? Which is the easiest language to learn and stuff. I was absolutely bored out of my gourd, with the exception of, because, a couple Spanish, guys that have Spanish descent, or Hispanic, they're like, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. They're like doing this, for 6 weeks. And one of the guys, it was funny as hell. He was actually Spanish. He was blue blood Spanish, but he had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was real. He comes from, I think, Spanish royalty or something or another.
Uh-huh.
But he spoke Spanish his entire life, and he played dumb in that class until it was time to test out, and he just whizzed through a 30-minute conversation with the native speakers, and they were looking at him going like, proper educational Spanish, why didn't you say anything? Goes, oh, he sandbagged it so bad. He goes, he says, I wanted 6 weeks of nothing. I didn't want to go back to, I wanted to, because it was, you're only in class, about 5 hours, and you had the afternoon to yourselves. And it was like no different than going to DLI. We're over in Monterey, where they had the best of everything, and he was dragging his butt a little bit. And I'm just like, I had no idea he could speak Spanish because he never spoke it around anybody, never spoke it with anyone that was Mexican or Puerto Rican or anything. He was such a sandbagger. It was unbelievable. And then he rattles it off at the end, and he goes, says, give me any publication in Spanish, I'll read it to you. They gave him some type of technical manual, and he's reading educated Spanish, not common Spanish. And we had a gentleman and 2 ladies that were our instructors, and the gentleman was he was from Puerto Rico, but he was well educated and stuff. He got so mad, in his Hispanic machismo, as being as macho. He was so mad at him, and he was like, he was giving him, he's giving him some ethnic, grief, like, how dare you do this? All this,
right?
And he's like, woulda, shoulda, coulda, what are you gonna do? Typical E7, right? You can't do anything to me. Type attitude.
So at this point, you're still a corporal, or had you made sergeant?
No, actually, I was actually E5 promotable.
Okay.
When I got into the school setting, because I came from the 82nd into the Special Warfare Center and assigned to the GFK Special Warfare Center. They wouldn't. They held promotions until graduation.
Oh, okay.
So a week after I graduated, I got my heart stripe. I got my sergeant. So, and which they had to do because there's actually no slots on teams in SF. It's all 6, 7, and 8. But you could hold a slot one grade below.
Right.
And
right.
I couldn't do it as a 4. Well, that was one of the prerequisites to go to the Q course was you had to be in a promotable status or minimum E5 with a minimum time in service and everything, all the other prerequisites. So I didn't mind it. It kind of gave me an advantage, I could play the dumb corporal a little bit, or the inexperienced corporal, right? So
yeah,
I exploited that.
yeah.
I did.
They'll only let you get away with that for so long, though, right?
Well, yeah, to a point. I knew where to draw the line.
Yeah.
They know, no, you're here. Yeah. You have a certain level of competence. Don't play with us,
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, listeners, we need your help to keep the Veterans Archives podcast going. We're a nonprofit dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes, and we provide this service completely free to veterans. Your support helps us record, share, and archive these incredible stories so future generations never forget the sacrifices made for our freedom. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. Visit veteransarchives.org to contribute today. Help us honor their service by ensuring their voices are heard. And thank you for your support, and thank you to all the veterans who have served our country. So were you still at 7th Group when all the stuff happened in the early 90s? Was it 1990, 1991 when we went over to Kuwait the first time?
Yes. Matter of fact, I'll continue.
Yeah.
After I get out of was it August 90? I was just at group for a few months. I thought, when things were starting to pick up and stuff like that, 5th group's getting all the action. But they didn't put all of 5th group in. They had to augment Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And they augmented with 3rd group and 3 battalions of 7th group. And I was one of the lucky ones, so to speak. We get our orders, and we go to a forward operating base, actually in Egypt, and we're waiting to go through isolation and for mission prep and everything else and what's going on. The air war is kicking off, and when are we going in, type thing. And next thing you know, we get the warning orders come through and stuff like that. And we drew what is called SR, which is called strategic reconnaissance. And we're like, no, we want direct action, or we want something else. We want something a little bit more than than staring through optics for weeks on end. And we didn't want the boring stuff.
Right. You want to go do something.
Yeah. Well, we get in isolation. We do a mission prep. We're given our brief back, and we actually, where we were actually heading, once we found out, was up by the Syrian border. Not where all everything was really happening. We were off an MSR. We were augmenting. The Brits were in the area too. The SAS. We were scud hunting,
Uh-huh.
so we had a. So so we get inserted. We were two Air Force MH-53s inserted us in the desert and in the middle of nowhere. And we had to dig spider holes and sit there with high-powered optics and, keep our eyes on the main supply route because they had thought that this was one of the most likely avenues that, once the Scuds were firing, they were going to go scoot and go hide in the Syrian side of the border so we couldn't touch them. But we were there to take them before they got that far. And that was, it had to be 30 or 45 days out before the actual kickoff for the ground offensive. And, when it was done and said, and when we completed our missions and come back out, I was honestly underwhelmed. I really was. I mean,
Yeah.
the short duration, we asked for close air support, and we had taken out several vehicles, but I did not have any close engagements, and I felt robbed because I went through all this cumulation of
Yeah.
being tip of the spear, even though we were tier 2, it's like the rug being pulled out from under you a little bit, but however, I mean, it was all the major stuff during Desert Storm was armor engagements and not a whole lot of anything. I mean, it was a very short duration, very short action, and so Desert Storm came and went, and I come back, and I'm back in 7th Group and continued advanced training. I had to go to military free fall school. That was my next adventure, which I really wanted to anyways. And again, it always seems like I always get the short end of the stick. I got one of the last classes that were still taught in Bragg because they were just establishing the military free fall school in Arizona near Yuma. A brand new facility, all away from everybody. You're not on just on a very small military thing. And when the cat's away, the mice will play type thing. And I'm like, I can never get out of Bragg, And at the time, they built their own wind tunnel and everything else. And so it was all one-stop shop in Arizona, but that wasn't online yet. So like I said, we were one of the last classes at Bragg. We would jump in at Camp McCall. We did our stability training and our wind tunnel training. That was the only good thing because we went to Wright Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton because they have one, and we spent a week there, and sure, send me to one of the biggest Air Force bases around. You're always thinking about you're always thinking about TDY and how to have fun and stuff. But what was the next? I'm just going down the line.
So this puts you like in kind of the close to the mid 90s then, right? You've been in for a little while.
So my enlistment was coming up. And And I wanted to get home and get married to my fiance, who I've been putting off for a while.
Oh,
And I just wanted to take a break. I was thinking about doing it like take a 6 month break, come back in, a short break of service. And I go, oh, you know what? Then I find out there's a reserve SF unit. I go, hey, this ain't gonna be so bad. I'll stay home and do this for a little bit.
yeah.
And I get home, get married, get done. Went to 12th group. Good bunch of guys. They came from all over. Most of them were former active duty. I mean, it was nice. It was the best of both worlds. It was, and lo and
So
behold,
just for clarification, though, 12th group is the reserve unit then?
they're
Okay.
deactivated now.
Yeah.
In the mid 90s, just a short period of time after I got there, and I was there a year or two. Bill Clinton, and I forgot the name of the Secretary of the Army, decided that they were going to move all combat arms out of reserve into the Guard and vice versa, and all support to the reserve. They were doing that shuffle, and there was 2 reserve SF units, the 11th and 12th group. There was 2 Guard units, 19th and 20th, and nobody in close proximity. And they decided that they were going to deactivate 11th group and 12th group and just retain 19th and 20th group. So I was like, man, just as things are looking good, right?
Yeah.
We're folding a flag, and it was a gut punch. It's like, God, this that and the closest unit. It was nice because 12th group was in Selfridge and Arlington Heights, Illinois, and they had a South Bend detachment that moved to Illinois, but the closest 19th group, I think, was towards Columbus. I go, I am not driving 4 hours to go to this unit back and forth. So
Right.
here I am. I'm going like, I got this reserve commitment now. What am I going to do? Right? I'm going like, oh, I'm like, it's like, what can
You're
I do? And I
stuck.
go,
You're stuck.
well, I just by sheer luck, I found out that there was a civil affairs unit in Kalamazoo. Well, they're part of the soft community, and the active duty civil affairs is all SF. It's just just an offshoot. And I go, well, that's an alternate. I can still say and still keep my beret.
Right. You still do your thing.
So I end up going to the 415 Civil Affairs Battalion. They were actually located at Kalamazoo Airport, right in Portage. So 2-hour drive from home, not a big deal.
Right.
And what was nice is there's always a ton of TDY and things going on. Get orders in 95 when I'm in the civil affairs. Went to Bosnia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was fun landing in Sarajevo when mortars were going off and stuff like that. And that was, I'm going, oh, good. I'm not missing out on anything.
Right.
Sarajevo was a freaking mess, and the hatred, I mean, between the Serbs and the Croats, the Bosnians, you had a war basically between Muslims and Christians,
Right.
and it's you know, everyone asks, like, why did everything happen? Well, when Yugoslavia split up, Tito kept Yugoslavia under a tight rule and total peace, and he had neighbors. Then once he was gone, and the communists fell, it just and everyone split off. Then it became warring tribes, back to blood feuds and crazy stuff. And yeah, I was in Bosnia. I was in Croatia. I loved Split, Croatia, on the water, over on the ocean. Oh, beautiful! But
it's a beautiful area, really.
Yeah. No, it's apt. I mean, actually, the Balkans are scenic. It's beautiful. It's just crazy stuff. Then move forward a few years. Already been divorced. All kinds of other stuff. My next hurrah was 1990. Early in '99, I was in Germany. I was in Grafenwehr. We were supporting first infantry division, and all of a sudden, this was February of '99. All of a sudden, the whole field problem shuts down. Everyone's packing up, and like, what's going on? We're having a briefing. Kosovo just kicked off. All right, now they're gonna start the air war of it. Okay. First ID is going back to Wurzburg, start planning for this. We're told we're going home, start planning because you're supporting, you're going. So here I am trying to explain to my new fiance, because I already had been divorced in that time. And I'm like, I can't tell her yet. We were planning on an October wedding. And I go, well, I'm going to be knee deep in the Balkans, and I'm trying to break it in kind of slowly. So I kind of not say anything, because I was told by my command that I was earmarked for advanced party because of my tab, and because I was, I had combat experience and everything else and all this other stuff, and they're relying on me. I go, I'm just an NCO, senior NCO at that time. And so I go, I kind of want to, I got that itch, I go, oh yeah, I want to go in now, because we were going to be one of the first. It was actually, they were going to put us in along with the 96th Civil Affairs, the active duty component within weeks of each other. There wasn't going to be like a handoff like 6 months later or anything of the sort. We're going to follow up their deployment. So we knew we were going to go in as things were rolling. And I was selfish. I was excited about that, not sharing that with my my family or anybody else, because I don't want them to think that we kind of looked for those kind of things. And so I kept kind of quiet about it. She goes, and she's noticing that, man, you keep going to the unit a lot. I thought it's once a month. Why are you going every 2 weeks? I go, they need me to do this or do that, whatever's going on. And then she goes, oh, I got a wedding date. And I go, okay, here it comes.
You got to say something now, Chris.
And I'm like, she goes, first week of October. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't want to say anything because she was so excited and everything else. I didn't want to just, and I'm like, I need to regroup and I need to think how I can present this at the right time. So, and I'm dragging my feet because I'm waiting for orders. I'm waiting for a definitive date and stuff. And lo and behold, I get orders. You're hereby ordered to active duty, report to your unit, because I was going to be at the unit to start the ramp up and everything else. And I'm going like, orders come. I think it was end of May. And I was holding off. This is from February to May. I couldn't say a peep to her. And then now
you gotta say something though,
yeah,
right?
Now I'm forced to. I'm going like,
yeah.
I said, I just got these. What's going on? What's going on? I go, I don't know, something big is going on. And I go, it looks like, Kosovo and all this other stuff. And she's like, So I dealt with that for a few days and I go, we're not married, so you can't be my beneficiary. You don't have benefits. I can't get,
right.
Yeah, separate rats and housing and all that other stuff. And I go, she goes, and she came up with the idea. And I was just like, oh, good. I don't have to come up with a harebrained idea. She goes, fine. Why don't we have a small backyard wedding, just family, not tell anybody, and we can have the real wedding when we get, when you come back.
Yeah.
I go, perfect. And we got a priest to actually do this, and we had it, and then I got my deployment orders to go to Germany, then the theater, I think it was like 2 days because we got married on the weekend. I think it was like a Tuesday. I get these orders, and I'm like, crap, this is fast. Yeah.
They weren't messing around, were they?
Then all of a sudden I called unit. I go, look, I just got married. You guys gotta get my wife, hurry up, get her dependent stuff, all this other stuff, scrambling, right? And luckily she could go to TCOM in Warren to get her dependent ID card and some of her dependent stuff done. By the time it was done and said, I was on a plane within 6 days after that. And it moved fast. I was like, wow, I cut that a little too close. Another meeting. Yeah, we were one of the first, we were in Kosovo soon, right after the ceasefire agreement, and the Serbs were pulling out, and they left that place a mess. And make a long story short, because it was really unique because you had over 50,000 American troops there. And it was, we had NATO, we actually had not just NATO. We had, because I remember the Irish being there, but they came under the UN protection. It was, for being multinational, and I also got to work with the Russians. That's when we were having, all the cooperation, back in, in 99 to 2000, when everything was going good.
Yeah.
I weaseled my way around because, of course, I used my tab to get things I wanted and do things. I actually got to go on a Russian patrol on top of BTR uh, up near the Kosovo Valley and stuff. Um, right up on this, we were right on the Serb border. I was only about 200 yards from the Serb border. And we did a little, I mean, a little, you know, a lot of cultural immersion back and forth, you know. The crew I was, or the squad I was with of the Russians, I brought a box of MREs, and I gave it to them, and they just went to town. They were it was like the best thing I could give them, right?
Yeah.
The normal exchange stuff. They loved American MREs for some reason. I don't know, but they were just like, I had a good time. I made a lot of things happen. I had a lot of free reign, and I did use my position to you know to work with other units and everything else, because civil affairs is pretty wide. I mean, we're basically liaisons between a lot of different things, and I took that in effect. I got to work with the Poles, the Ukrainians, the Greeks, the Brits. Who else did we work with? I mean, the French were um, up and towards the north. Didn't really deal with them so much. The Foreign Legion was a lot easier to deal with than the regular French army by far. They're not stuck up like they are. But I got to have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things, and yeah, if nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Right.
I was your typical SF soldier. Always looking for something unique or something that nobody else can do. To put it in your bucket list. But initially, Kosovo was supposed to be 180-day deployment. Kept getting extended, kept working. I was just shy of 320 some days before they finally got kicked out, finally released. And come back, and it was time to pick up where I left off and start a family. And then my son was born, and we had a little problem. He was about 8 weeks old, and we had to take him to the hospital. He couldn't keep anything down. It'd come out of both ends constantly. And so we got him in the hospital, and make a long story short, the specialist were looking at him and everything else. They were scoping him. Imagine scoping an 8-week-old baby, both endoscope and posterior scopes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And his whole gastric system was kind of shutting down. In your intestines and your there's peaks and valleys, and which holds material in, and that's how they absorb nutrients and stuff. So his entire intestinal tract, something was causing a reaction, and it was flattening him out. So it was just nothing to hold anything in.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, besides ourselves, they diagnose him with autoimmune enteropathy. Means, his immune system was attacking his gastric system.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that, they have, the treatments aren't, long-term permanent, and the quality of life, he may have to go on a bag for his life, and, that was one of the things, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they said his life expectancy is probably only going to be 2 years. And that was quite the bomb to drop. We were like, baby systems, healthy 8-week-old baby, 2-month-old baby, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, they're saying he'll never see a second birthday. So I decided to get out for a while. I want this, let this thing pass. There's no way I could, continue on because doing anything.
Right.
So I did a break in service for a very short time. And I kind of got convinced, as things were progressed, kind of settling down a little bit. Well, why don't you go IMA or individual ready reserve? You won't have such a commitment. And so I decided to go, IMA, that's individual mobilization augmentee, and not thinking, all the crazy stuff that was going to go on. That's when everything else fired back up, and just the stop loss and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, there was no explanation, but my son started improving, and he was on a feed tube for a while, and he had a feed tube in his chest that we would feed him intravenously, and we got to the point like his gastric system was slowly returning to normal, and it wasn't by, I don't know if it's because it was left to its own for a while, divine intervention. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was no medical explanation for his improvement, and he actually got off the feet. We got him on a specialized formula, which insurance, of course, didn't cover at the time.
Of course not.
No, and which was ungodly expensive. It was like having 2 car payments, and for that. But he starts improving really, really well, and by the grace of God, he recovered. And so we're happy. Everything's going good. Just as I'm thinking about going back in the reserves, right, I was kind of toying the idea. Afghanistan's kicking off, right? Iraq was that short. The second Iraq was, was during this turbulent time and stuff like that. So I kind of like missed out on that, and I started thinking, I'm going like, no, this is gonna be a 5th group thing, right? Afghanistan, maybe 3rd group, right?
Yeah.
Being IMA, being an augmentee, right? Somehow, when I got signed up again, because I held 3 MOSs, I had my civil affairs specialty, which was 38 Alpha. I had my 18 Bravo, and I had my 11 Bravo in that order. I had my primary, and I kept my 18 series as a secondary. Somehow, somebody in the S shop transversed the 18 series and my civil affairs. Well, that red flagged it. Next thing you know, oh, you're critical short, you're ordered to active duty.
Wow. Oof. So what year is
18
this?
series, I'm going like, I go, yeah, but for me to go to a team, go through the train up phase, everything else, that's going to be a good period of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was a recall. And because of, like I said, critical short, I carried a TS, everything else that was going on. And I'm going like, why did we call? I go, they're not going to put me in fifth group. Or I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? Well, I got orders for Special Forces Command, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I go, oh, so they're going to keep me stateside, right?
Yeah.
So when was that? August 2002? August, September, somewhere around there. I can't remember. Damn, my memory's horrible. But so I get there. I'm assigned to staff level, and I'm like, you gotta be joking. All right. I need operational level. I'm not gonna sit here at a computer for a couple of years doing all this stuff. I go, how can you be? I'm an 18 series. I'm not a specialist, a clerk. I was
Right.
And that's three. I was talking, and I go, look, man, you got to get me out of here. Let me see what I can do. All right. Let me see what I can find for you. He says, you were in seventh, weren't you? I go, yeah, not third, not fifth, seventh. He goes, hey, do you want to go down the street to second battalion? I go, I was in first battalion originally. I go, yeah, I'll go second and seventh. Right. I get orders. Go there. Right. Guess what happened? I didn't think I'd be going to Afghanistan. October, 7th group gets the call that they need to augment 5th and 3rd over, or actually 5th in Afghanistan. And going, great. I'm not on the team, so I'm probably going to be stuck in a command and control element or the B detachment. And I get on the command and control element, which controls, it's a local control of 3 or 4 teams. You're still in the, you're right there in the theater. You're just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And so we do the world tour to get to Afghanistan, after going through the other stands. And initially I was I landed in Kandahar. I was at FOB 72, and that's a forward operating base. I'm sure you heard that term before.
Yeah, I've been to one.
Okay, then you know. And they're not fun.
No.
And my SOCC that I was assigned to, we're finishing up things. And then we're going to go to an AOB. We're going to go to an advanced operating base. And we went to 740 in Helmand Province. Mm-hmm. So we get there, everything, which is about 120 clicks west of Kandahar. So it's an Indian country. I'm going, oh, okay, good. We get there, everything that's going on. One of the teams got chewed up a little bit, and they lost both their they're weapons sergeants. So they said, hey, do you want to step in until we get somebody stateside to come over, for a permanent fill? Yeah, let me grab my shit. I'll go. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm trying to name the fire base we went to. I can't think of it. Garish might be fire base Garish. Well, anyways, I got to meet the team, and teams are very cliquey, extremely cliquey. You're an outsider until you're proven otherwise. I said, yeah, I get it. I kept low key and kept everything on a good professional, friendly level. Not trying to weasel my way in and buddy and stuff like. That's just the way we're built.
Right.
Because you don't know who, what, where, when. But luckily, the big thing was direct action and strategic reconnaissance. And I'm going like, not strategic reconnaissance again. Hey, Belan, I heard you were, you're one of the old farts from the storm. You guys are going to be doing a strat recon mission or missions, so to speak. And I'm going like, really? Okay. So that was we did some direct action, and of course we all know what that includes, clearing villages and everything else. So I'm with my ODA, and then they decided they wanted to move to Firebase. And I'm trying to think. We went to another FOB. It was off of Highway 1. I think it was FOB 72. My memory's just. The Highway 1 linked Kandahar to Kabul, and it was a MSR, it was a main supply route. And so we were there to keep all the undesirables that were trying to run from one side to the other. So that was going okay. Everything was moving along quickly. And then my replacement's coming in, or the actual replacement. So I'm going like, where am I going to go next? And so I head back to our AOB 740. I'm back in there, and I don't even have a hooch set up, and I get called in. They go, hey, since you're the widget here, the CAGE, the Command Advisory Group, which is basically it's Central Intelligence, it's SF, it's a lot of hokey pokey spooky stuff, And however, they report directly to the theater commander, and they use them a lot as in getting more accurate intel, or if something's not right, because sometimes command sends what the group commander wants to hear and not what's actually going on. We were kind of like I hate the term, but we were kind of like fact checkers.
Yeah.
Go stick our nose in something, see what's going on, type thing. So I get, so I get to go in the Command Advisory Group, and it's small units. I worked with three, out of my 6-man little team, 3 of them were spooky. Okay. One was Delta, and me and another were SF. So they draw from everybody, and it's quite interesting mix. We don't do um, direct action and stuff like that. We get into things, if we get into things, but
Right.
we're not used in direct, we're used for intelligence, and it's like, wow, it was actually super, super interesting, you
Mhm.
know. So we got sent around the different hot spots or different areas, and we reported back through the chains and of what we seen, what we heard, what's factual, whatever photo, whatever,
Mhm.
to either validate or invalidate the information they had. It was like a second check, so to speak. Um, Special operations sometimes gets like that. They're real, they get it's to get a laser focus so that we don't have things go wrong
Right.
or wrong information come through. Just because of you know, the Afghans were notoriously two-faced. They'd say one thing to one person, another to another. You didn't know what was going on. It just a lot of validation had to be done and
Right.
quietly.
Right.
We were just snooping and pooping quietly. We were like an investigative
Yeah.
aspect of it, but we always seem to get chased, you know, by a bunch of guys with AKs all the time. Well, my time with them ended, and I came back home, and they wanted to know if I wanted to continue and as an augmentee or if I wanted to go IRR or whatever. I said, you guys have me, against my will. I'm going home. I'm done.
Mhm.
Um, Even though I had a lot of fun, I had a lot of stress, um, a lot of hard times, but that comes with good times. But I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired. I was mentally tired, and I said, I want out for a while. Maybe I'll go back in a couple of years. And after that, yeah, I was officially out January 2005. So
That was your last day in the Army/Army Reserves.
mhm.
Yeah. Is it a weird feeling putting on that uniform for the last time, like as being part of the military?
It was so surreal.
Yeah.
That's what I could say. It's like, yeah, at the end of the day, it was like, this is it, you know? And
Right.
and all of a sudden it just like no more. I'm going like, God, did I do the right thing? I know I can go back if I made a bad decision.
Right.
And you know, um, I started having I didn't have PTSD,
Uh huh.
but I got survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
I only have superficial wounds. I don't have a life-changing wound. Um, for the longest time, how could I go through? I got beat up, tore up a little bit, but nothing. I mean, nothing that was it was temporary,
Right.
you know. And for me, is guys that didn't come home, guys that came home and spent months in Germany because they couldn't be moved again. Uh, all kind. It's like how did I not get my ticket punched? There's that. You know, that's what I carry. I just wanted, always look for an answer. Never, I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
But
There probably isn't one. You know.
at one point, it was like when I first got, when I finally got out, it was like, maybe, when I first started having it it started affecting me just a little bit. I go, maybe I need to go back. I don't know. Is it unfinished business? I don't know. And my wife goes, "You're done. I've struggled through this whole thing. You're home. You're done." And the rest of the family was doing the same thing. Like, why do you want to go back? I go, I don't know. There's a magnet attracting me. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
But it probably since we pulled out of Afghanistan, I'm fine. I have solace. It hasn't bothered me since then. Now that chapter is done, but it never drove me to abuse alcohol or drugs or anything. I never done drugs, but I'm very fortunate that I always had that never quit attitude and everything else. I've had a strong mindset, and I think that's helped me. Where the sense of guilt came from, I don't know. I got no explanation for it. I have no reason for it. There's not one thing that's prompted me to do that other than just like an overall sense.
Well, here we are.
But I was lucky. And again, I was lucky that it didn't impact me enough to change or cause issues,
Right.
It just every once in a while, for no apparent reason, you'd start thinking about something. But I was lucky. I've had total peace. It's everything that's happened. Well, actually, after the fact, I've had even some more. I had my dance with the devil twice since I came out of the army. So, and I think that settled the score really bad.
Right.
Here's a little. It's when I come to consumers, 18. Well, anyways, 3 years ago, I work gas construction, putting pipe in the ground and stuff like that. I came through the veterans program, and it was a great opportunity. And 3 years ago, it was in August. We were working 12-hour days. We were doing a long stretch of just force over. We were just getting beat up. Hot temperatures. We're just ragged, worn out, tired. And for like a couple of days, it's like I'm more fatigued than I normally am. Right? I can. I'll go get another coffee, push through it.
Right.
But there was actual physical tiredness. I mean, I was doing a lot of hard work, but I'm going like, man, maybe I need a few days off or something, whatever. I need a break. And I started feeling kind of crappy. I'm like, not thinking much of it, just not feeling well. Nothing standing out. And I remember when I was just finishing work up on this one Friday, and I was so wiped out, tired. My drive home from we were working out of the Pontiac yard. I live in Macomb Township. Just driving down 59, just going home, only 25-minute drive, and it was like I was ready to go to sleep. I mean, I was just absolutely drained. I'm like, I'm not even hungry. This is dinner time. This is, almost 6 o'clock. And I'm like, I get home and I don't want to eat. It's like sapped, totally sapped. Go to bed, figuring, I'll sleep it off. I'll feel fine. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I was waking up and my biceps were just hurting so bad. And it was like I had a little bit of indigestion. I had a little tightness in my chest and stuff. And I'm going like, oh, this is weird, right? And I'm trying to think, I go, what did I do at work? Right.
Yeah.
And well, at the time I was doing a lot of house piping. I was doing a lot of meter work and stuff. And we were doing a lot of moves. And I was doing a lot of overhead turning and twisting. And that's what I attributed it to. That's what I thought. At least that's what I was trying to justify. So I get up and I go, I'm going to take some Motrin and Tylenol. And I go on and I'm like, crap, there's nothing. I go to the medical cabinet. There's one Motrin, one single tablet in the bottle. And I'm like,
Right.
I go, really? I go, that ain't going to do me nothing. And there's a bottle of aspirin. I go, oh, I'm taking aspirin. So I dropped about 4 or 5 aspirin and I went and laid down. And it kind of took the edge off, right? It was working a little bit. So I finally get back to sleep a little bit. I wake back up about 9 a.m. My arms aren't as sore. There's still a little lingering soreness. And it was more on one side than the other. I go, that's weird. But I was still fatigued. It was like I didn't go to bed. Oh God. I go, I gotta get my butt up, and it was a super hot Saturday. It was supposed to be, like 90 degrees by 11 a.m. in the morning, and it was gonna be one of those hot, just scorchers. I go, I gotta change oil on my vehicle. God, I gotta get this done. I go in the garage. I'm just trying to get everything together. And the sweat's just pouring. I'm going like, I know it's warm, but I haven't done anything. I open the hood of my truck and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I close it back up, close the garage up. I go in the house and I just lay down and I'm still sweating in the air conditioning. I go, something ain't right. And I went to get up and all of a sudden I got dizzy. And I sat back down. I go, oh no. First thing that pops in my head, I've had vertigo before.
Yeah.
And it came out of nowhere. The symptoms were like vertigo. And I'm going like, I go, shoot. All right, go get in the shower. I'm going to go drive to Beaumont because I know it's vertigo. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I get in the shower. I feel a little better, right? I got my equilibrium back. It kind of went away. I'm like, all right. So I drove myself to Beaumont, Troy. And I live over off of Card Road and 21 Mile. So not too far away, but enough. And as I got on the Quinder, my chest started hurting. A very sharp pain in my sternum. And I'm like, that's not indigestion. And I'm thinking, anxiety? I'm not thinking of anything. Nothing's bothering me. I never had an anxiety attack. I'm thinking everything else. What is this? All right. So I pull into the emergency and they were still under COVID precautions. You're right. You can't go in an emergency, until you go through the screening. Right. And there's 2 people in front of me getting screened and I'm looking and I'm going like, oh God, it looked like the last train to Calcutta. I've never seen Beaumont emergency that packed. The whole waiting room was packed. People were in the hall standing And I'm going like, there's 100 people here. I go,
Yeah.
oh, and I go, oh man. And my chest started hurting again. And I'm like, oh. First question, what brings you here? I go, I got chest pains. I mean, not thinking
Right.
like that. I said, my chest was, and they're like, you got chest pains right now? Yeah. So walked me right over to triage, right? And hooking me up to an EKG and doing everything, right? I'm going, and I'm like looking and I go, oh man, those people are going to be so mad if when you put me back in tell me to have a seat in the waiting room after this. You know, I was like, I thought I was going to get mobbed. I'm going like, oh man, not thinking anything, right? All of a sudden, the technician's not saying anything. She's just like, I'll be right back. All of a sudden, two RNs and in a wheelchair come and they're moving real quick to go, Mr. Belan, we're going to be taking you back right now. I go, I go, all these people over here, they're going to be mad. You know,
Right.
don't worry about them. They said, don't worry about them. We'll take care of that. I go, okay, whatever. And I go, I can get up, and I get up and I sit down and they're like really nervous. I go, I'm fine. And they're pushing me down real quick in towards emergency. And all of a sudden, Beaumont's got individual emergency beds. You know, they're kind of like small rooms, and they just go past a few of them, and all of a sudden, I see like, you know, about 8 or 9 medical personnel in the crash room. Right?
Yeah.
I know what a crash room is. All of a sudden, they turn and I go, "Whoa, where are you going?" Right? I go, "Will you hold on?" I'm like, "Oh my God, they're overreacting. I probably just got, you know, an ulcer or something."
Yeah.
And I'm in, and they're masked up, and they're bringing everything around, and I'm like really getting unnerved. I go, whoa, slow down. And the doctor goes, hold on, Mr. Belan, you're having a heart attack. I go, the hell you say? They're just like looking at me like, why is he even breathing? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all of a sudden they're trying to help me up a little bit. I go, I'm ambulatory. I can get up, and I get up. Right. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know, get on the bed, you know, and they're like, everything comes off. We got gown yet. I go, what? Everything, underwear, everything. I go, I'm going, wait a minute, time out. Right. Let's talk. And, you know, the emergency room doctor comes in and goes, you're having a heart attack. You don't believe it? That's fine. Do what they say.
Right.
You know, she got gruff with me because I was like, oh, time out. No, they're not wasting time.
Yeah.
I got gowned up. I was down. They had an IV in both arms. They're bringing the x-rays and everything else, and everything's going. And all of a sudden they're coming over and they got this little piggyback IV, you know, and the doctor says, whatever drip of nitro. And I go, is that nitroglycerin? They go, yeah. And they're plugging. I go, whoa, because I know from other people, nitro gives you a hell of a migraine. You know,
Yeah.
so I go, you guys are overreacting. When you find I'm not having a heart attack, you know, I don't say I didn't tell you so. Yeah. And they're just like, you know, they got an oxygen on and everything else. It was so bad. I had no other classic symptoms like, you know,
Right.
Like passing out or anything like that. I was fully coherent, and I'm just like, and they're going 100 miles an hour. They say cath lab is ready for them, you know, and the doctor comes over and says, you're going upstairs. Chief of cardiology's up there. They're going to put a catheter in you. Or I go, for what? You got some blockages. And they're wheeling me out. And all of a sudden they pull out a key and it goes to code blue. They overrode the elevator, took me up there, and there's like, there's 6 more people. It's like a regular operating theater, except it's more intricate. The
Yeah.
cath lab up there. And cardiologist goes, Mr. Belan, he says, you have some blockages. Time is the essence. We got to get this done right now. He says, I'm going to try going through your radial artery. If not, we're going through your groin. We're going to prep both. All right. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to feel like hell, but just bear with it. We'll give you something to calm down. And they were just like, boom, boom, boom. You know, I could feel that catheter go through my arm all the way up into my chest. And I'm sitting there watching it because all the monitors they have watching it. And it was surreal, again, is an understatement. It was like a sci-fi movie and horror movie at the same time. This thing's in me and I can feel it and I'm watching it and I'm going like, I don't like this.
Right.
You know,
knock me out.
You know, they want to keep you, they didn't want to knock you out, but what did they give me? I don't something fentanyl based plus something else, whatever. It gave me a hell of a buzz. But I would fight it. I was, I fought it to keep coherent and conscious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, you should be more out than this. I go, give me more.
Right. So
go,
did they end up putting in stents then, or
they put 3 in? And after they were finished, I'm getting wheeled to cardiac intensive care, and my wife's there. She wasn't there to begin with because her and my daughter were out shopping when I drove myself to the hospital and didn't tell anybody. You know, she was all peeved at me because I didn't tell her, and you know how wives could get about stuff.
I know how it goes. Yeah.
And well, the cardiologist came in at the same time my wife came in, and she goes, "Why didn't you call me?" And all this stuff, and I'm like, and the cardiologist goes, "I hate to interrupt a marital spat. However," he looks at me and goes, "Mr. Belan, you know how lucky you are?" I go, "What do you mean lucky?" I go, "I haven't pushed." He says, "Let me tell you something." He says, your LAD, your lower anterior descending, that's the second largest pipe in your heart. He says, was 100% blocked. He says, you were minutes away from dying. How'd you get here? What ambulance? I go, I drove myself here. And he goes, what do you mean you drove yourself here? You could have killed somebody. You could have. I go, I wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah.
The SF mind frame, I'm gonna keep pushing, and what I did, and I go, don't say that to my wife. Now she's gonna be on my ass.
Right.
Oh my God. And he says, you had 2 other blockages. I go, I have no cardiac history. I said, I had a stress test 2 years prior.
Yeah.
I've never had any problems. I've had elevated blood pressure because of work, and I'm on the lowest dosage of. I go, I could never, for the life of me, my diet wasn't any worse. It wasn't any, and I'm like, what's going on? He says, well, he says, you're going to come back in about 3 weeks to a month. He says, I just wanted to get those ones. And he says, you got 2 more that need to be done. I go, and I'm trying to figure it out. And the only thing it's not proven. And I asked the cardiologist and he really couldn't answer it, didn't want to answer it. I go, my wife forced me to get the COVID vaccine twice. Mm-hmm. I go, is this any impact? Because I've heard of the cardio problems and everything else. And he kind of like didn't want to visit that.
Right.
And I was like, because I haven't had a problem since.
Yeah.
My heart recovered. Never an episode, no cardiac. I mean, I'm fine. you know, I'm on drugs for life, but I could deal with that,
Yeah. Yeah. So you
But,
here you are back at Consumers Energy working now.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could add one more further to that.
What's that?
While I was recovering from my heart attack,
Uh-huh.
from what they said I was close to death. I didn't think so. I don't know. All I know is probably my guardian angel's the raving alcoholic, but 6 weeks after my heart attack, the week I was supposed to come back, it was actually the weekend of, I was supposed to come back on a Monday. And Friday, we had a real beautiful day and everything was going good. And my buddy goes, "Hey, you want to go for a ride?" A bike ride, Harley's.
Right.
So I go, "Yeah, I want to get on my motorcycle, right? I haven't been able to get on it." And I go, "When do you want to do this?" He says, "Oh." Well, he actually called me the day before on Thursday, so I was kind of quietly planning on doing it on a Friday. But I woke up and I was kind of feeling, I was still in my medication adjustment period. I'm not supposed to, only 6 weeks after that,
Right.
because your body adjusts to the medication, and more times than not, they lower doses or they increase doses depending. And I kind of felt, I don't want to say over medicated, but kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, my buddy comes over and I was like, "I don't know, I might call it." He goes, "Oh, come on, man, it's a nice day. All right, we'll go." Right. He wanted to go to the Harley dealership in Farmington. And I go, "All right." So we get on the road. About 10 minutes down the road, I feel just a tad worse, right? I feel like maybe I'll tell my buddy, I go, "Well, I'll pull up and I'll tell him, we'll hit the first gas station, come off. I'm gonna get a Diet Coke or something to drink."
Yeah.
And he yells, he goes, "All right, we'll get the one on," because we're heading from 59 on westbound 94. We were going towards 696, but we're going down 94, and I progressively feel crappier just a little bit. And I'm doing my mental check of everything. I go, my heart's fine, our breathing's fine. Just feel off. Yeah. Just whatever. I know enough that I'm gonna get off my bike and go, try to figure it out. Well, we're driving and we're about a mile away from our stop. And all of a sudden, we're both in the left lane of 94. Traffic's light, not too bad. No one's behind us. All of a sudden, I feel real bad, and I started getting tunnel vision. I lost my peripheral.
Yeah.
I go, uh-oh, that means I'm going down. That means I'm going out. And let me get to, so as soon as they had started doing that, and when I lost my peripheral and I knew it, I go, I'm gonna stay awake until I can get this to the side of the road. I'm trying to get to the shoulder of 94. And all of a sudden it went like this. It was like Looney Tunes. Whoop. And everything's quiet. I don't remember a thing. All of a sudden, I could hear sirens. I'm like I was in a deep sleep. And all of a sudden I hear sirens and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I hear people talking. And I'm going like, what the hell? I was just on my bike. Did I pull over and fall in the parking lot? Then all of a sudden I open my eyes. 2 troopers are right looking on top of me and they're holding me. "Buddy, don't move. You've been in an accident." And I'm blinking my eyes. I go, and I'm trying to process it. Let me exit. And I go, I'm laying down. I could feel my helmet. I could feel all my gear. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I came off my bike.
Yeah.
First thing I'm doing, I'm kicking. Don't kick. Don't move your legs. I'm right now, I'm just trying to see, I'm not paralyzed, right?
Right.
Well, I go, okay, I can feel my hands, I can feel my toes, I can feel my legs, everything's working. Okay, let's figure out what's going on, right? And I'm doing this a couple of times because I'm like, all right, triple check, okay. And I don't have any pain yet or anything. I go, what's going on? But they're holding me still, and all of a sudden I could hear a fire truck air brakes just go right next to us, pretty close. And the firefighters jump out, and first thing out of one of the firefighters is, "Oh, thank God he's wearing a helmet."
Yeah.
Right? Well, if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here. I came off. I passed out on my bike. I hit the tarmac probably about 60 miles an hour. I was slowing down because the last thing I remember was about 65, 60.
Yeah.
And my bike was 85 yards from where I was laying. And I go, what happened? I don't know what happened. I have no recollection, right? You know, I go, I was driving and now I'm laying on the ground. What happened? You know? And the worst part of it is I'm there and they're just like, they're checking my body and they bring a backboard and they're saying, don't move. They put a C-spine on me,
Yeah.
and they're saying, don't move. We're just going to lift you up enough to slide this board underneath you. It's going to hurt a little bit, right? So all the firefighters are like, oh, 230 pounds, you're not going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as he left, it sounded like a bag of bones crunching, just, and all of a sudden, Mr. Payne visited, and I thought I was going to pass out. Oh God, and I go, oh, it's not my back. What is it? I move my legs, so it's not my legs. And then all of a sudden, my whole left side hurt, and my shoulder and back. I go, fuck. I go, too much pain to think rationally what's going on, right? I'm going, oh my God. And then, so they put me in the ambulance, and I go, where am I going? Where am I going? They said, you're going to a level 1 trauma. You're going to McLaren, Mount Clemens. They're only 2 miles away. Okay. I felt every expansion joint, every bump, every rock. I felt every grain of dirt on the freeway, on the road, going in the park. It was constant. Oh, ow, ooh, just like. Then, make matters worse, once I get there, the orthopedic asked, he says, as they're examining me, what happened? I said, well, I got to tell you one thing first. I passed out. Oh, by the way, I had a heart attack 6 weeks ago. I'm on this. I'm on these drugs. So now cardiac has to come in.
Right.
They got to examine me and them, right? And as they're figuring out what they're going to do, the orthopedic surgeon comes to me and he says, I'm not going to be able to operate on you for 72 hours. I'm telling you right now, we're going to be able to plan what we want to do and how to do it. But he says, you're on the thinner, everything, you'll bleed out if I cut you. And what I got to do, there's going to be a lot of blood. He says, you'll be going through blood left, right. He says, there's more than a chance that you could bleed out. And I'm going like, well, that's just great. I mean, I got to sit in a bed for 3 days. Yep. Before you start fixing stuff. And because their cardiac had to call Beaumont and converse with Beaumont back and forth. Well, in the meantime, they're sending me to go get scanned, full body scans and everything else.
Right.
And every single time they lifted me up and put me down. I thought I was going to pass out again. I got scanned 8 times, head to toe, every single square inch. And they wouldn't, they kept that spine on and my helmet until the neurology said, yeah, he's good. And then the orthopedic said, yeah, his neck's fine, or all this other stuff. Finally, that comes off, and they cut my brand new jacket off. Don't do that.
Of course.
No, you got no. I'm like Iron Man. I wonder if I can find a picture. My scapula was broken in 6 pieces. I had internal damage. I had all the ribs on my right side broken, plus tissue damage.
So you're lucky to be alive at this
again.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, again.
Yeah. So how long?
I didn't even get shot at.
How long were you?
And
in the
my
hospital?
wife was just livid with me. You tried doing this twice in 2 months, and I'm like, I'm going like.
Probably should have listened to your gut.
I go there. I go. Somebody doesn't want me yet.
Yeah.
How can you say that? How can you be so casual? I go. Oh, I'm grateful I'm here, but I'm not gonna freak out about it.
Yeah. So how long were you in the hospital for this?
18 days.
Okay. And then you were off work for a little while too, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was off for a couple months. I couldn't, and I had 13 months of physical therapy. I got 85% of my range of motion back. It's taken a long time. I still can't feel my shoulder. I have, because of the nerve damage. Well, it's like a giant boomerang on my back. It goes from the corner of my shoulder to the center of my back and then down. I guess to get to all the, your scapula and stuff, they take all that muscle out like a fillet, and they flip it out, and they do additional damage because of the amount of nerves that are in there.
Takes a while for that to come back, if it comes back at all.
If it comes back at all.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So you survived that, and clearly you survived your wife's wrath after that.
Oh, let me tell you something. To this day, she's still, if I got a picture of a motorcycle out, she knows I'm gonna get another motorcycle eventually. I'm just not doing it because my daughter's in school and it costs too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, where the hell's that picture at? It's gotta be here. I got a couple X-ray pictures. Oh, you're gonna love this.
Yeah, don't show me any gross pictures.
I don't know. Let's see if I can.
Oh yeah.
You see all the screws and.
Yeah, that's a mess. Wow.
That's just my armpit. Here's the whole thing.
You must have a lot of fun going through the metal detector at the airport.
When I flew to the Bahamas a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, TSA. I go to the scanner. You're gonna see what's in here.
Yeah, here's my medical card.
And they're usually pretty stoic, not really, And the girl that was scanning me, all I heard out of her was, "Oh my God." And I go,
no doubt.
I don't think I need a medical card for that. She goes, "No, bye."
Right. So
no, I've seen enough. Go.
But you're back to work, and you're working now, and
yeah. Unfortunately, that motorcycle crash prevented me from doing my job in gas construction. So, however, there was a silver lining in it, because when I first came out, because I lost fine motor skill to my left arm. I mean, I had basic motor skills, but just fine touch and everything else. I just didn't have that. It was just too rich. I couldn't operate equipment. I didn't have strength on that side, but I took the pathway to least resistance. And I said, well, maybe I'll be a field leader. So I became a supervisor. And then my wife says, you're getting too old for all this stuff. I did turn 60 this year. So I mentally now, physically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the good things. So I I worked at Consumers Energy. I think the one good thing that I can say about them is that if you can't do one job, a lot of times they'll find a job for you. Like they don't just kick you to the curb because you couldn't be a gas construction person anymore. There was a job for you. I know they can't do that 100% of the time, but I've seen them do it a lot.
Well, I had good rapport, and I had, I was, all my supervision and stuff. They were like, and the union were like, hey, you're a crew lead, you just run a crew.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but I still got to do things and stuff like that. I go, I'm not going to be sitting in a pickup truck with a set of prints all day or just walk around telling people what to do. I go, I'm a hands-on type person. I go, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to me because, I'm just a mouthpiece at that point. I'm not, I have no worth at that point. Anybody can do that. And at the time, my senior field leader goes, hey, do you want to be an upgrade right now until you decide what you want to do? I said, sure. So he extended an olive branch really quick, and the union was, how they were supportive. They knew I wasn't making a switch because, for money or for not leaving the union for that reason,
Right.
but because I had a real reason. I had, basically I'm an invalid at that point. But however, since then, and like I said, I use that never quit attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got me through additional stuff like this. And people go, why haven't you got, I would have been in therapy and all this. I said, I don't need it. I have no need for it because I'm not in a bad spot. I'm in a good spot. I wake up every morning, thank God for another day, go do what I need to do. I don't dwell on what has happened. I don't look for fault. I don't look for anything. That's done and over with, right? I got to look to tomorrow. I got to worry about my daughter getting married or not. And, one day, yeah, one day, no, whatever. It's like,
it's all that stuff.
And yeah, and they had one last caveat, not with me. I'm dealing with my son, my 23-year-old son has stage 4 lymphoma. He's in chemotherapy. So we're back to another test or, life lessons. So,
right. How's he doing?
He's doing all right. He's got my perseverance, which I'm glad I taught him. He's doing well for going. He's just completed his 7th round. He has to go. He can't do outpatient chemotherapy because one of his chemotherapies takes 4 days and it's a 24-hour drip. So he's got to go in the hospital for 5 days at a time, every 2 weeks, every 3rd week rather. And he's kind of beat up, but he's doing well. He's spiritually, physically, or mentally, he's doing really good. Physically, he's, got this, got all the side effects and stuff. He's got no hair, no eyebrows. He's all puffed up from steroids and his wonky appetite, but he's got an appetite, thank God. He had, we found it by accident back in November, or actually October. He complained he had a lump under his arm. So I said, go to the doctor, see what you got. Maybe it might be bacterial or something or another. So they give him some steroids and some antibiotics. He goes back and it didn't get any smaller. It got actually larger and more firm. And the doctor goes, "You're going for a biopsy." So I went with him, go get a biopsy, and the surgeon wanted to do the exam and then do the biopsy. He examines them and he goes, says, "I'm not going to biopsy it. I'm taking it out." "Oh, okay. We're getting ready for deer season. So we're going to be going up. We're going hunting at the beginning of the week." Yeah. Well, that was a Thursday. We were going Wednesday, and he goes, he says, I'm going to have my people check my schedule. I'm in surgery tomorrow and Monday." He says, "I want to get you in either tomorrow or Monday." So wait for the call and, from the office, and we'll get this done. Okay. They called back within 20 minutes of us getting home. Says, "Oh, you scheduled for tomorrow at this time." Perfect. And I'm thinking, this will be one and done, right? We can still go hunting, and that's what he's thinking, right?
Yeah. Super simple, right? We're just going to do this and then go.
So he actually went for an outpatient. He comes back out, and I look, and I'm going like, he's got a 5-inch scar like this underneath his arm. I'm going, holy crap. Surgeon comes in, he goes, "I removed his whole lymph node." He says it was not looking good. So I wanted to make sure I got everything that I needed to get out of it. It's going to pathology. We'll have results probably within the next 7 days. I'm going like, and he goes, just from the observation, he says, "I'm very concerned." He says, "I can't make a determination until I get the pathology results, but I'm very concerned just based on my observation." And I'm like, that's not good. So that was Friday afternoon, and I'm going. And Tuesday, the day before we're going hunting, he calls back in the afternoon. I was home because we're getting ready to leave to go up north. My son answers his phone. It's the doctor, and my son half the time talks with it on speakerphone, walks through the house type thing.
Yeah.
I always yell at him. I go, "Turn that off," but this one time I didn't want him to turn it off. And the doctor says, are you driving, or you're doing any or operating anything right now?" He goes, No, why?" And it's just, "Do you have a place you can have a seat?" And my son goes, "Why?" And I already knew what was something not good coming.
Yeah.
And he tells my son, says, "Alex, pathology report comes back. You have cancer." And it was like, oh, here we go. Well, another trauma's around the bend. But I'm like, okay. And it snowballed real quick. He was, this holiday season, he was lucky. He came home a couple of days before Christmas, so we were able to be at home for Christmas, in between. So they found 2 large masses, one between his kidney and his bladder, another one up on his hip, in the bone on the hip, and a couple other spots. But it was aggressive large cell lymphoma. They were kind of surprised because usually you get it a little bit older, not as young.
Yeah.
But it's a very aggressive form, so they wanted to start treatment as fast as possible, which they did. And we had good news 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. because they rescanned them and stuff. His masses have shrunk significantly. So we're on the right track. So they think he's going to have, it's going to be totally treatable. So we got a little bit of relief. I'm still always waiting for the shoe to drop, type thing, wait and see. I know it's good news. I'm not celebrating until it's final, until the doctor says he's cancer free.
Right.
I just hold that in reserve. I've been through a lot of disappointment and
Yeah.
a lot of different things, but oh my God,
Yeah.
we talked over. I didn't just look
Oh,
at it.
we've been talking for a couple hours now, but yeah. So before we wrap up, first of all, we'll be certainly thinking about your son and your family,
No, I
in our
appreciate
prayers.
that.
Absolutely. It has been amazing getting to talk with you and hearing all about your life and your history and things you've done and things you've gone through. As we wrap up our talk today, I always ask the same question at the end. I think I know even know what the answer might be close to being when I ask this of you. When people are listening to this years from now, when neither one of us are here, what message would you like to leave people with?
No matter how things go wrong or how bad anything happens, it's not permanent. You can get through it. You have to. There's no reason. Don't retreat. Don't crawl into a hole. Don't abuse things. Gut it out. Never quit. And that's my success. I hope I can share that, and I hope others can take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Thanks again for taking the time out today to talk with me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Veterans Archives podcast. We truly appreciate you taking the time to listen and honor the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Don't forget, you can catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream past episodes anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and as I've said before, any place you can find a podcast, you can find the Veterans Archives podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our content on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and across all social media. Every share helps us reach more people and preserve more stories. The Veterans Archives podcast is a nonprofit initiative, and our mission is simple: to give veterans a voice and ensure their stories are never forgotten. This service is completely free for veterans because their sacrifices deserve to be recognized and remembered. You want to help? Follow us, spread the word, and if you know a veteran with a story to tell, send them our way. Visit us at veteransarchives.org to learn more about how you can get involved. Thanks again for tuning in, and most importantly, thank you to all the veterans and their families for their service and sacrifice. Until next time, take care, and we will see you on the next episode of the Veterans Archives podcast.